Hey, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
My daughter-in-law sent us a podcast the other day to listen to, a recommended podcast. And I listened to it, and I have been thinking about it nonstop.
Yes,
for
she has been
the
thinking
whole
about
week.
it nonstop for the whole week because she's been asking me and quoting parts to me all along and saying,
I want you to listen to this podcast.
Yes.
And your response was, well, I feel like I already have because, do I really need to listen to it? And my response was...
It wasn't necessarily that. I was more like, everything that she's going to present, I feel like I'm doing in AI. And therefore, do I really need to listen to it? Or can we just have a conversation about it?
Yes.
So I was a little bit of ego there. I admit to it.
But
Absolutely.
It was great. I wanted you to listen to it because I'm like, I want you to come at it through your own filter, not from my filter.
Yeah.
So we decided today to take the opportunity to discuss all the things that I'm so excited about.
Well, I took the opportunity to listen to it.
Yay.
That was the thing, right?
Yes.
I was like, okay, I actually listened to it.
Yes.
And so both of us are approaching it from, we kind of talked a little bit about it together.
Yes.
Obviously.
So for context,
Yeah.
because we're going to talk a lot today about context, and context is really important.
Right.
The podcast was on AI and how AI can change the way that you're doing things. It was the host of the podcast is Emma Greed. And I think she does, her company is Aspire. She actually has several
From
companies.
England.
Yes, so it's really fun to listen to.
Heavy English accent. And I don't know from what part. Anyone in England would be able to know what part she's from. But anyway.
Neither here nor there. It's just really fun to listen to. She's interviewing Allie Miller, who is basically an AI expert. She consults all over the world on how to use AI. She's worked for IBM. She's worked for Amazon. She just is on the forefront of how to use AI.
Right.
So it was just a fascinating experience for me. And I have a bazillion things that I wanted to.
A bazillion. Okay.
So the first thing that she, that I kind of wanted to bring up is that she said, Allie was like, AI is not a tool. And that really, I was like, what do you mean AI isn't a tool? Of course it's a tool. Do you remember that part?
Oh, I remember it completely because I disagreed with it right away.
You did? You disagreed that AI...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me what...
Well, because I think it's absolutely a tool.
Okay.
It's a tool that I can use in any particular aspect or ratio of life. I know the point that she was trying to make, but it is definitely a tool. And she says if you look at it as a tool, it limits how you're going to use it. I disagree. I think that, and in some, let me disagree and agree at the same time.
Let me amend my disagreement.
In some relationship, because like a tool like a hammer is for a specific job.
Right.
And I think what she's trying to get at is this is not for a specific job. This is actually for all kinds of things. And if you look at it as a tool, you may limit yourself in what it is you want to do with it.
Right.
And I could see that. I agree. However, one of the things that's important for me is the tool, it is not a human being. It is not something that is sentient. It's taking the information from all over the world. And by the way, I'm a very big proponent of AI. Don't hear me as saying I'm not. But it's taking all of the combined information from millions of people and thousands of years and putting it in a way that all of us have access to it. That's an awesome tool, but it is not a sentient being. It is not something that you want to start having a friendship with.
Right. So you're
do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Because that was part of what has been, but you've talked about this as well. And we've even talked about it in past podcasts, which I think we can safely assume that this is something we enjoy exploring.
Oh, 100%.
Because I think we've had a couple podcasts that we end up coming back to this same place. And there's a reason for that. Artificial intelligence is one of the fastest growing technologies that we have in the world right now. And I think it's one of the fastest evolving technologies that we've ever experienced as a world, in the sense that it's moving faster and progressing faster than we've seen technology progress in the past. And so every day it seems like there's something new that we're learning about it or some new way to use it. So it would make sense that it's something that you and I enjoy talking about.
100%.
The thing that I wanted to come back to a little bit was in the past, you have said that and you've told me this too, that I need to look at AI almost like a personal assistant. And one of the things that kept coming back in that Allie kept bringing up is that AI has the opportunity to really be a collaborator with the things that you're accomplishing. Mm-hmm. And she talked a lot about, and it's been fun because I have used AI and ChatGPT a ton to help filter the ideas of this podcast, to do the things that she was saying how you should use AI. And it has been so much fun.
Oh, yeah. That's
so
awesome.
much fun. But one of the things that she talked a lot about was this idea of taking AI from a place of, and this kind of ties into the tool that we were talking about, taking AI from a place of using it, or maybe us, and this is the part I'm kind of using AI as a senior analyst would use AI, or using AI as a CEO would use AI.
Yeah.
And I actually put that in chat to be like, okay, what exactly does that mean? What's the difference? What's the difference between using AI as a senior analyst would and using AI as a CEO would? And what are your thoughts on that?
So, and I read your chat on this actually,
Yes.
So it's really good. And I think that if I were to put it into, I'm directive in the sense that I say, do all these, as a senior analyst, do these things for me, make this execution, make these things happen. Whereas as a chief executive officer, help me with a strategy. Let me see what I'm not seeing. Ask me questions that will help me to really flush out this strategy. It's more of a leadership strategic role rather than an execution role. And that's, so if I look at my history, I mean, over the past 14 years, I've been all about translating strategy into execution. Well, in order to translate the strategy into execution, you got to have a strategy.
Right.
And so the idea is have AI help you come up with your strategy. That's a CEO type level. It's a tool that is an assistant that allows you to bounce ideas and to get feedback. And I'm going to emphasize this through our entire conversation, from millions and millions of content data entry, people entering content, and from
data
thousands of years of experience that is all being now put together by a large language learning model, which is AI, and presented to me in such a way that I understand it in common English or whatever your language is.
I do love the way that you're saying that, because I think sometimes we're not exactly sure what artificial intelligence is. And there's a lot of concerns out there that it's going to displace jobs, that it's going to dumb us down, that there's privacy issues.
Right.
And I love that what you're saying when you reframe what is artificial intelligence, you're looking at it and saying it is using the technology that we have been able to progress towards and now be at a level of, to take all of the information that is on the internet or that has been put out there, and to synthesize it in a way that, in a conversational way, gives us back an answer. And that's how it's so different than Google or any kind of a search engine, where we go and we ask a specific question and then we have to kind of sift through to find.
And we're not even asking a question in the search engine. We're really just putting in a search for this.
Yes.
Search for that.
This.
And I have to be very concise in what it is I want it to find. Whereas with AI, we are asking a question.
That's true.
What do you think about this? And where would I get information? And how does this look? And what is the strategy, about it? And how do I develop this strategy? And are there resources for that?
It really is a whole new way of looking at something
100%.
Because it turns it into a conversation that you can continue to go through the conversation. And that's kind of the experience I've had as I've been preparing for this, is that I put in a question and chat gives me some of the answers, and then there's something in that that sparked my attention even more. And I'm like, let's explore this more. Help me understand what was meant by this. Help me understand. Allie has said this a whole bunch of times. What does that even mean? How is this? What does she mean by that? And it's able to take all of the information that is out there of what she's talked about and say, this is what she means based on.
So speaking of that and sticking a little bit with what it is, the CEO mindset versus the strategic technician, right? Or the search engine. One of the things that I've appreciated, and I'm going to highlight something that you just said and continue it forward, is the continuous conversation. So for example, about a year ago, over a year ago, I started on a meal plan called Bright Lines. And I went into chat and I started chat on this Bright Lines. And I said, and I was just asking back and forth, what is this about? How does it operate? What are the different things I need to look at and consider? Give me, what would a 7-day meal plan look like? And it would do all that. So I started on that and I started to use it. Well, fast forward 3 months, I'm into Bright Lines and I have questions. Well, if I'd done that in a search engine, there's no history to the conversation. Whereas with chat or Gemini or Grok, whatever it is, whatever the AI is that you use, you can have a continuous conversation. I went back to that conversation and I said, and without any prompting, any additional prompting, I didn't have to go back through everything that I had already gone through. All I said was, what about this? And because it had the context of that entire conversation, it then could counsel or grab information from the internet. I say counsel as if it's an individual. It's not. It's grabbing information. It's the sum total of all the information that anyone has put in to the internet that's not marked as private.
Right.
It's all of that information that we now get to draw on, that we get to extend our cognitive ability to be able to gather the information from this continuous conversation. Now, in the very early days of chat, the chats were distinctive. In other words, it didn't do a really good job of cross chat.
Right.
But now, today, I'm like, do you remember we talked about this in one of our chats? And it's like, yep, I remember. It's this one. I'm like, that's it. I want to expand on that, but go a little bit different course. I want you to think about or do or whatever. I think that, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, but one of the things that I think is important is that I'm training this AI to know who I am and to really be an assistant that responds in the way that I would respond because it keeps me uniquely me. Now, I don't limit what information I can get from it. I want that to be expansive, but in responses and things that are going on as I act as the CEO and the CEO mindset for chat or for any of the AI engines, I'm giving it this information context, like what you said, in order for it to return responses.
And that was something.
So that was a lot of stuff for a CEO versus a technician mindset.
And it took me a little bit to kind of work through this. And there's a whole bunch of things that branched off from this discussion. But this idea of a CEO versus an analyst brings up a couple different things that I want to explore. The first one was this difference between, so you just brought up something that you said, and we talked about with the search engine. We've been trained to say things in a short, we don't have a lot of, when we're doing a search engine, you don't have a lot of ability to, originally, actually AI has now come into search engines, and search engines are more AI friendly.
They're getting there, yeah.
And you can almost talk that, but the conversation aspect of it is huge. And this idea of remembering. One of the things that she talked about was context. In other words, you're going to get an output largely based on what you've input in terms of the questions that you're asking. And so if you ask a very simple, I don't want to say that different. If you ask a question without very much context, it's going to give you an answer.
Oh, it'll generate something.
It'll generate, every time you ask something, it's going to generate something for you. in a very positive way.
Yes.
However, if you give it context, the more context you give it, the more robust the conversation becomes. And it was interesting that as I was listening to this podcast, they were talking about literally kind of asking a question at the beginning and then just free form talking into this AI platform for like 30 or 40 minutes, where they would just use it as a soundboard almost. And what she said is, she goes, what that is context. I'm giving it all of this context of, this is what I've already thought about. This is what I'm nervous about. This is what I'm trying to accomplish, but I'm not quite sure how to get there. This is what I know has worked in the past, but these are the barriers that I can't seem to get past. Like, all of that was fed into this conversation. And she just talked about how rich of a response you get when you give it that kind of context. And as I was listening to this, so to validate your point, there was so much that as I was listening, I'm like, oh, Jeff does that. Oh, Jeff does that. So I totally understand how
But you know
you're
what? One thing I don't do, which I need to improve on.
What's that?
Which is kind of interesting because you brought it up. And I thought about this as she was saying it, is I don't dictate a lot. I'm a little bit embarrassed to. Even though you and I have these conversations, we converse a lot, I feel like, but typing is so slow.
So let me, in the podcast, they talked about how they don't type in their responses. They literally dictate. So she actually has an app, I think it's called Whisperflow, that allows her to just talk freeform and not type. That was fascinating to me too, because
so this is where I
haven't
thinking
used
about
it very much
so
either.
Generationally, will our children, or actually their children, learn how to speak and prompt through just vocal commands, almost like Star Trek?
That's what I was just thinking.
I know, I was just going to say, like Star Trek.
Like
computer,
the future, yes.
Computer, analyze this for me and do this
Or
for me.
even
Because it's a different process than... One of the reasons I like to type it is because I'm thinking, and then as I type, it's almost like a translation that goes from the brain into the fingers.
Yeah.
And that translation helps me to be able to clarify the point. Whereas what I hear, what she was saying, Ali was saying, and also what I feel is that AI is getting smart enough that I don't have to be as concise with my language.
Yes.
I can actually ramble, and it will say, okay, well, here's the major points that I'm taking from what it is you're saying. Is that what you're getting at? In other words, and ask a question back.
Yes.
And say, oh, yeah. So I've been in sales all of my life, and communication is sales. Sales is communication. And the ability for an AI to ask you a clarifying question is something that we hone all the time as sales representatives. A clarifying question. So tell me a little bit more about what you mean by X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. Help me understand what your objective or goal is that you're trying to get to. Have you been asked from AI those type of things? Yeah, so have I. I mean, it's like, so what I look at for me, where I need to improve and get comfortable, is having this type of a conversation with the AI so that I can have the flow through faster.
I think
does that make sense?
Yes, because I think what's mind-boggling to us is that this is only what you're talking about. I think has only changed in maybe the last year. Yeah. That the language model has gotten robust enough to understand nuance.
Yeah.
Like to be able to...
Ooh, that's a really good way to say it.
Whereas before, I think that was part of the reason we did type, is because I know what I'm trying to say, but to get it into what I'm really trying to say, it's complicated, and I need to work through that, and typing kind of forces you to do that.
Yes, 100%.
And we've been taught that a lot, that there's huge amount of benefit to getting that in. What's happening now, getting that in, that didn't make sense, but getting that process from our brains of what we're, all these different jumbled ideas into a coherent idea that makes sense in a communicative form that another human being could understand. But we're not talking to a human being. We're talking to a large language model that is synthesizing all of, to your point, so much data that it's incomprehensible to us.
Oh.
And it synthesizes that data at a rate that is incomprehensible to us.
Well, for example, just to the rate at which it synthesizes data. You see behind us a streaking book, right? It's about 35,000 words, takes 4 hours to listen to it. The AI, I put that in that fast.
Like literally the
book,
snap of a
everything
finger.
was ready to go. And now that is in the lexicon of opportunity that's out there. That's what
and I think it takes our brains a little. So the fact that we've gone from where we were 3 years ago with AI, or even that it was significantly more clunky. It wasn't something, to what we're talking about now, where it's like, yeah, just sit and talk to it.
Okay, so can I share with you a little experience that I recently had? So we have a good friend of ours, Talon, and he is a user interface designer. And he got there through designing the MyStreaks app. In fact, he's the designer of the MyStreaks app and the interface and everything else with it. I was just talking to him yesterday. Okay, so the MyStreaks app we designed through, and we have a development team that's done a wonderful job with it and has done fantastic work. He learned how to use Figma, which is a design tool, to be able to express what an interface should feel like and look like. So this is just amazing to me. So he decided that he wanted to design an app that he was going to use with his buddies. It's a golf app, and it's something that he and his buddies wanted to use for quite some time. So about 3 weeks ago, he put a design together and then asked Chat, where can I
was it Chat, or was it like Claude
Hold
coding?
On. He asked Chat, where can I code this?
Okay.
And Chat referred him to 3 different codes, because Chat can code too, but there's some more powerful coding engines. And he went to the one, and I don't remember which, I'd have to ask him again which one it was, but he went to it, and in 2 hours, he had a fully functioning app, and he's never coded anything in his life. I mean, he did try to code once. He's like, yeah, I don't want to be a coder.
Yeah.
Well, now he doesn't have to even worry about it. Because why? What happened in the time that we built the MyStreaks app to where he is today? And by the way, it's now getting ready to be published, and it's a phenomenal app. I've been testing it with him. It's a phenomenal app. And he's like, I design, I code, I do everything. And notice he's saying I. Well, actually, it's AI that is assisting him in this whole thing. And why? Because all of the knowledge, all of the information, all of everything, that the full total of human information intelligence for coding and so forth has now been put into this large language model that returns usable code, that he has extended his cognitive abilities by doing this. I was just blown away. That's what we're getting to.
That's what we're getting to. So 2 questions.
Yeah.
In reference to your story right there. 1, what about all of the coders out there that are listening to this and that are feeling like, well, that's my job. Like I went to college. I've been trained. I've been working at this for years. And now you're talking about someone that can just go into AI and do what I've been doing. And not only that, and they talk about this in the podcast, this kind of identity crisis a little bit, of recognizing that not only could AI do it, but what if it can do it better? What if it can do it better and faster than I can? What do we do with that?
Yeah, it will.
So what do we do with that? And then
I think so. Let's step into those questions a little bit in reverse. So 1, why will it do it better? I think that's an important thing to recognize. Why will it do it better? Because it's not 1 developer or 10 developers that's working on it. It's the sum total knowledge of thousands of developers that are put into this large language model. So it's going to be better no matter what. I mean, when you look at it and you go around, you just say, if you were to get a group of people together to evaluate something, having 10 different opinions is going to give you, or 10 different collaborators, a better product, a better service than it will as if it's just 1.
The way I envision that is you have a group of people standing in a circle, all facing out though, not facing each other in the circle, but facing out. And everybody can see the things that are in front of them, but nobody has a 360 degree
No one can
vision.
see all the way
Nobody
around.
can
That's a
see
really good
all the way
visual.
around.
Yeah.
So you need everybody and the perspective of what they have. And when you bring all of those perspectives together, you get a full 360 view. But nobody can do that by themselves.
No.
Nobody's going to have that level
So
of vision.
now you've got this ability to have a tool that assimilates all of that information, all of that knowledge, all of that experience at your fingertips. So it's going to be better no matter what. Now let's go to the first question that you asked.
I don't know if that helps people feel better though.
Oh, well,
where you look at it and you're like,
first.
but I've been doing this. Like, now what?
Okay. So back to my friend Talon, he sees a need. He sees a need that human beings need. It happens to be in golf and it happens to be around a couple of things that they're doing. But he sees this need and he says, I want to develop this. That's where developers are needing to go. What are the needs? And then as a developer, because you have an innate knowledge of how coding works and what it is, you could probably do it even faster, get even more information. But the key here is to now look at it and say, what is the need? And how can I be a participant in solving that human need? That could be entertainment, that could be information, that can be tools that are specific to a specific area. I am sure, oh, and by the way, NASA just launched yesterday. There's astronauts going to the moon. They're going to circle the moon and come back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's pretty cool. The Artemis. But I am sure that they drew on the 53 years ago, what they did to get to the moon 53 years ago, and then all the knowledge in between. And you can do that now with AI. You didn't have to have an individual go back and study all of that.
Yeah.
AI could put all that together, and you can then ask the question, okay, from what we learned in the first moon launch and getting to the moon, what are the things that we can look at today? And as an engineer and as a trained professional, you can take that information and explode it to a whole different level.
So this goes back to the concept of an analyst versus a CEO kind of, are you going to be the person doing the work, or are you going to be the person that is overseeing the outcomes, that is asking the questions of what needs to get done and how are we going to do it, rather than the person just going and doing it? I know I was reading this to that one of the things that to keep in mind as we're asking these questions is that AI can create higher quality work.
Absolutely.
Because of the resources that it's had, and that it's multiple sets of eyes looking at this and being able to just vet out any of the problems. And so I think the thing that the question we've been asking a little bit around this is this: there's a lot of maybe trepidation around where AI is going and what it's going to do. Is it going to replace people in,
yes, it
in
will.
Works?
Absolutely.
So she tells a great story.
I don't think we should be bashful about that or shy about that, because will it replace it? Well, let me say it differently. It will replace jobs that people do.
Yes.
It will never replace people. It will always replace jobs that people do, because there's jobs that will go to AI.
Yes.
And that's great. Just like, are you going to bring up the IKEA example that she brought up?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that a little bit.
Go.
So she in response to this question. So
Yeah.
IKEA used artificial intelligence to create the ability to answer customer service questions. So they created what is the word I'm looking for? Anyway, they used AI to help.
An agent. An
AI agent, so that it didn't require human interaction. And it reduced the number of customer service calls that required a human by 40%. So now only 60% of those calls needed to have human interaction versus 40% could be handled without that. So that reduced the number of customer service people that they needed to answer those questions by a significant amount. I think she said like 80,000 employees.
No, 8,500.
8,500. Thank you. Not 80,000. 8,500. So 8,500 employees that now essentially their biggest fear came to reality. AI had replaced what they were doing.
Absolutely.
But it was great because IKEA looked at that and said, we have 8,500 employees who have a huge amount of knowledge of our catalog, which is a big thing because that was what they would do. They would answer all these questions about the catalog and customer service. And one of the things that IKEA had been wanting to do was to add a second or another tier to their business of interior design. They wanted to have this interior design section, but they didn't have the manpower to do that or the time, or, we always have great ideas, but how are we going to get it to execute? So what they did is they took those 8,500 employees and they retrained them on interior design using artificial intelligence to help retrain them, and created a whole division in IKEA that didn't exist before with the employees that they already had. So those people didn't just lose their jobs. They became better trained, more equipped, and were able to add more value to an existing company. And I think the thing that I loved about every part of that story is, one, let's not go to this fatalistic place where I'm going to get replaced. Because what is that saying? I don't have value.
I'm a victim.
I'm a victim. I don't have value. Nothing I do is important.
You are hugely valuable.
Exactly. You are hugely valuable. And AI can't replace that value, but it can amplify it. It can expand it. It can make it bigger and
what
better.
What you just said, awesome. AI can amplify your value. Mm-hmm. I mean, just take that in for just a second. AI can
amplifies what you're contributing.
Your value and what you contribute.
But
that amplification. So in other words, rather than looking at it as an enemy and something that needs to be defeated, it's more so a friend that is working for you to amplify your value. Now, I realize in saying those words, I just humanized it, which is fine. I mean, I think that there's, because behind the whole thing is humans. I wanted to go back to the IKEA example for just a second too, on the whole human thing. It took humans to recognize that there is another business line that we could put together. It took leaders in IKEA, individuals that were making decisions to say, what can we do with this? Whereas left to the cold, stark, computational effort, it's like, nope, cut the jobs, gone with that. Great, we're saving money. But it took the creativity of leaders to say, is there another business line that we're missing out on here, or another need? So this is what I was talking about earlier, that we could actually employ these individuals and AI to help them do this, to stand up this whole division. Absolutely. And it becomes $1 billion division.
Now we're able to execute bigger and faster and more.
And these people are now adding their value.
More
so
value.
Like what you said, their value, what they've learned through the years, and amplifying it with AI. And it's fantastic.
So this is kind of circling back to this difference between the senior analyst mindset and the CEO mindset. The idea of a senior analyst is kind of the idea that you're doing everything yourself, that AI may help you with small tasks, but really you're the person doing it and you're focused on the execution. The CEO mindset is more a thinking in outcomes. What is it that we want to have accomplished? I may not know everything that needs to get done to have that happen, but I'm thinking this bigger picture. These are the things that we need to have accomplished. And what are the problems that are going to happen that we need to solve? It's more outcome focused versus task focused. It's more strategic versus reactive. And it's more leveraged versus busy. So as I was researching this, the thing that came to my mind is there a part of this? Is there some place where people out there may be like, I don't want to be the CEO. I'm comfortable being the person that does the task. I don't want that level of responsibility.
That's really good. I'm curious your thoughts. What did you?
Just because I do think that is a question that people can ask, is that not everybody wants to be a CEO.
Here's the interesting thing about that, though. And I would ask the question, why? Why do you not want to be CEO?
I think one of the biggest challenges, and this is why I brought this up, is that how much responsibility do I want to accept? Sometimes when I can just be the person, I'm just going to do the task. I don't want responsibility for the outcome. I don't want to solve that problem. I don't want to go there. I just want to do the task. And there is something to be said sometimes about wanting to be in that place.
Yeah.
But I do think it's really important to look at and think, I'm okay to stay there for a little while sometimes when I need a reprieve. I need a little break. I'm just going to do a task. But we as human beings aren't meant to just stay in that place. We're meant to grow. We're meant to expand. We're meant to progress. And if we allow ourselves to stay in that place of easy comfort, I guess, then we're stagnating our own growth. And that's what I felt like this approach to AI was saying was, don't be afraid to take the leap and expand.
Yeah.
Not everybody, and the CEO mindset is just, it's looking at it and saying, don't be afraid to take some of the responsibility to solve the problem. Don't be afraid to not be the person doing it. Sometimes there's a lot of comfort in saying, well, I'm just going to do this thing. Don't be afraid to let other people do that. And you're the person that's thinking of how to solve the problem and thinking of and taking on that responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. As you were talking, I was thinking about it. You are a CHO.
Chief Home Operator?
Chief Household Officer.
Officer. Oh, yes.
Yeah, officer.
Chief
Not operator.
Yes.
Officer.
Okay.
You make strategic decisions all the time in really managing and also leading the home. Now, there's a lot of things that you do in regard to that. And I also am I guess what I look at is I also am a leader in other areas where I lead things strategically and so forth, and I execute. What I look at is maybe it's not strictly one or the other. It's just expanding your mind to say, is this a CEO task or is this a technician task? And how can I get AI to help me with that?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
It
doesn't
really
have
both.
to be
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
or.
Because there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, yeah, I need that. And I need the technician part of this, or I need the leadership part of this. And I can use both. And what is great is AI can help you amplify both.
To amplify that.
Okay, so I have a question now.
Okay.
So we've been talking about all of the excitement the AI brings, but there's some trepidation out there. There's, in fact, a lot of trepidation. You brought up one of those, which is, will it replace me? And we have talked through that. I think another thing that is, well, I guess the question I have, I was going to answer the question before I asked it, but the question I have is, why would people be afraid of AI other than the professional pursuit, which is it's going to replace me? What are some of the other things that we look at in our personal experience that were, whoa, I don't know if we want to use AI for that.
One thing I've thought, so two, I'll say them both and then we can figure out which one. The one I've worried about is, will AI become a crutch? Will I no longer do the work necessary to understand something because I can just ask chat and make it do it for me? I don't have to put the effort into writing anymore because chat can just do it. I don't have to put the effort into learning how to do something because chat or AI can just do that for me. So that fear that we will become dependent upon artificial intelligence without having the knowledge anymore because we're not putting in the effort to gain that knowledge. I think that's one fear that I've heard a lot.
So, and I believe that is a good, real fear. I would put it as a concern. I think it's a really good concern.
It's a valid concern.
It's a valid concern.
There's reality.
And here's the
to
reason
that.
why. For 3 years, I got up very early in the morning and went lifting weights with a friend of mine. His name's Jerry, and we lifted weights for 3 years in the morning. And when I say early in the morning,
you're talking like 3:30 in the morning to the gym.
And we were to the gym. And we'd work out. When I switched jobs, and it prevented me from being able to do that anymore. And I noticed that my muscles atrophied. So not totally atrophied like when it's in a class, but I got weaker than what I was.
Right.
Why? Because I was not using that muscle. And I think that when we talk about atrophy of the mind, I'm not putting in the work to come up with the ideas and giving it a first draft, or putting a first draft together of my own ideas.
Right.
Putting a first draft together. And by the way, I've tried this experiment. So I've been working on a second manuscript for the streaking book. And I don't know if it's going to come to fruition or not. It oftentimes just helps me to clarify my thoughts. And there's So many things. When we wrote the first streaking book together, we look at it now and we're like, we've learned so much since then. But here's the thing that's interesting. I have gone into chat and said, I want to write a chapter on X, and said, write it for me. And ultimately returns back something that's awful. I mean, and when I say awful, it makes stuff up and it's not real and then all those things. So I've done it the other way, where I write out a first draft of the chapter or of the section. And one of the things that I found that's interesting is as I'm writing, I don't worry about someone judging the writing, because I know I can put it in AI and there's no judgment there. There's no, wow, you really need to work on your writing.
Right.
It's completely 100% no judgment, because it is not a human being. And what it does is it returns to me. I mean, it still gives judgment, but what is that judgment from? Again, thousands of writers that have put stuff in. Thousands of things that have happened.
You bring up such a good point, because what does the judgment do when you're at the beginning stage of something? So it
shuts me down.
Yes, it causes doubt.
Like, oh,
it causes
man.
Huge amounts of doubt.
In fact,
and what is the doubt? The doubt is that I have this perceived outcome of what I want to get to. I know I'm a million steps away from the outcome. And if I can't even, if step 1 and 2 looks this bad, how am I ever going to get to that outcome?
We hid several of those drafts under our bed and never returned to them again.
But to your point, if you have a technology that you can feed all of that into without worrying about that rejection or that judgment, creating more and more of that doubt that you're already dealing with yourself as a human being anyway, and it comes back and says, like it usually does, well, this is really good. We could change this. We could change this. And 2 things happen. One, you feel more confident. You're like, oh, what I wrote isn't that bad. I mean, it's not great yet. It's not good yet, but it's not as bad as maybe I thought it was.
Right. Exactly.
And number 2, oftentimes it comes back with something that spurns another idea. And so now that it almost has this ability to help unlock that creative process, to unlock. And how is it doing that? By giving some positive feedback, some good clarity and feedback, which allows you to spend more of your mind share on the creative, deep thinking aspect of it, rather than maybe the technical mechanics of it.
Yes, exactly. So in the book, How to Become a Genius, to this point exactly, he talks about how to use AI in a way that extends your cognitive ability rather than diminishes it, because it can diminish it. I mean, when you look at it, it can, because if I continue to go to this place where, here, create this for me and send it for me, I'm actually atrophying those muscles.
That's why I like the word amplification, because whatever you're putting into it, it's going to amplify it. So if you're being lazy, it's going to amplify that laziness.
Right.
If you're
really
deep thinking, it's going to amplify the deep thinking. But it's not gonna, it's only as good as what you're putting into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to read just a couple of paragraphs from How to Become a Genius. And it says, AI augmentation is not additive, but multiplicative. I always got that word. It's so hard to narrate that word. Multiplicative. The AI does not simply add a fixed amount to the individual's cognitive capacity. It multiplies the effect of the individual's own abilities by providing resources that the individual can deploy through their own judgment and skill. A knowledgeable person using AI effectively is not just a little better than a knowledgeable person working alone. Not just a little better. They are operating in a qualitatively different regime, because the AI amplifies the return on every unit of domain knowledge, every unit of practice, every unit of creative capacity that the individual brings.
Which is just mind-blowing and so exciting, I think, to look at it and say, it can take what we bring to the table and just augment it.
Yes, absolutely.
But we still have to be bringing something to the table.
Yeah.
And the more effort we put into what we're bringing to the table, the more that it has to work with, the more that it can produce, the better the quality of the work that we will. So that was my big shift for this as I was listening to this podcast, as I was thinking about what I want to talk about, was just recognizing this shift of going from this place of fear and trepidation about what's going to get replaced, and are we dumbing down things, and are our kids going to learn to write, and all of these fears that are in place with AI, and taking it to a different place where it's looking at it and saying, has the opportunity to expand thoughts in ways that I've never had the opportunity to do before.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I stop thinking and just
Okay.
let it do it all for me.
So
it
let's
means
think about
I
that for
think
a second.
bigger and differently
Yes.
and better.
So I wanted to read this portion too. There is an inherent risk in the extended mind that the model identifies formally. When he says the model, he has Boris Krieger, who wrote this book, he has a model, a mathematical model that he puts all this into. It says, as the AI's contribution to the cognitive system increases, so as it becomes extended from you, your extended mind, the question of who sets the objective function becomes critical. In the current model, the human sets the objectives and the AI provides cognitive resources for pursuing them. Okay, that's important.
Right.
But if the AI begins to influence the objectives themselves through subtle framing effects, recommendation algorithms, or the sheer convenience of following AI-generated suggestions rather than formulating one's own questions, the system changes qualitatively. It is no longer a human cognitive system augmented by AI. It is something different, and the model's predictions about growth trajectories may no longer apply.
That is so good. And it's the same with
Isn't that
everything new. We have a responsibility incumbent upon us to be the people asking the questions.
Right. If the AI subtly shifts the objective from deep understanding to superficial fluency, from original thinking to efficient retrieval, from genuine curiosity to pattern matching, the system may still look productive while actually moving away from the genius regime.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think really what we're looking at is who's in control of the AI. So there have been times, and you've seen this before, where you're putting something in and AI suggests 3 or 4 things. Sometimes I follow those. Other times I don't. I'm just like, no, that's not where I want to go. I'm the one that's controlling this conversation. I don't want AI to control the conversation for me. I want to be the one that's thinking this through. So that leads to one other thing just on this topic, as far as with the writing. So I think it's completely 100% a great way to use AI to say, this is my first draft. What's your evaluation? Don't rewrite it. Mm-hmm. Just tell me where you could see I could tighten this up and what suggestions do you have?
Right.
Then take those suggestions and rewrite it myself, putting my cognitive brain behind it in order to continue to exercise that muscle, and then put it in again and say, okay, here's the second draft.
Right.
What do you think? I think that is a powerful way, because what are you getting? You're getting, I mean, that's what we did with our editor.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We rewrote it. She made suggestions and we rewrote it again.
Right.
Well, now you get the thousands of editors in this compact system called AI that gives you opportunity to really flush out your writing.
Right. And to really to spend your time really deep thinking on the ideas and how am
I love that.
How am I really communicating this in the way that I'm wanting to? Am I really saying what I'm wanting to say here?
Yeah.
And working through all of that, and AI helping with the mechanics of that and refining of it, so that we can really spend our mind share on the stuff that is truly human.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so final point. We've been going on for a long time here. It's been a great conversation. And there's so much more that we could do.
I know.
But here's the final point. As you look at setting a streak in regard to AI, what streak would you recommend? What streak would I recommend that someone set to get comfortable with AI?
I would say first of all, just it depends on where you are. Maybe that's the first thing, is look at it and be like, where am I with AI? Am I afraid to use it and I've never used it? Am I using it on a daily basis and I would like to hone in my skills? Am I using it? Have I kind of fallen into that trap of I'm using it as a little bit of a crutch and I'm not, and I'm just kind of letting it, I've gotten lazy and I'm letting it do the work for me. I think I would first kind of evaluate, where am I in my AI use, and where am I trying to get to? And no matter what, using it every day is helpful. Just trying to find some way to be like, how can this help me today? I think that would be a huge streak to have, to be like, how can I use AI each day to help me? Because that's where,
yeah, I agree.
To the point that, back to, is it a tool? Is it not a tool? I really enjoyed what you said, that you're like, I think it's important to remember that it is a tool. Let's not put too much stock into it. It is a tool. However, let's not underestimate the power that this tool is.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not a hammer. We're talking about a highly evolved, complicated power tool. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference there.
Right.
So we don't want to underestimate it by simply saying, well, it's just a tool. But we also don't want to say that it's more than a tool.
Right. It's not human.
It's not human.
It's not going to sum total of human knowledge. It's all of the information that's put out. I mean, without the internet, AI doesn't happen.
Right. It does not exist.
I mean, if it doesn't,
and what is the internet? The sum total of people's contributions.
Absolutely.
And
that's why I'd say, please contribute. Everyone contribute. Contribute. Write. Socialize. Put things in, because that helps to gather more and more information so that we can all benefit together.
Right.
So from what you said, here's a couple of streaks that I thought. 1, open chat at least one time daily.
Yeah.
Just open it.
Just open it.
That's it. Open chat at least one time daily. Whether or not you do anything with it, you most likely will, but open it at least one time daily. I think that's a potential streak. Here's another streak. Ask about one thing in AI every day. So just some ask in some way or other. I mean, I think through the things that I've been asking, and I use AI all the time to ask questions, to get information back and forth. And I use it in all aspects of my life, spiritual life, so physical activity. I use it in my intellectual life. I use it in, here's another one that we can talk about, is parenting. I mean, how can AI help in your parenting pursuits? And I will bet there are those who will listen to this that they or their children have gone in and said, I have a screaming child that will not be quiet, that can't sleep at night. What's going on? How can I do this? And there's all kinds of information. And chat. First, let me tell you, Jamie, what a great job you're doing as a mother, and how wonderful you are, and that you took that on, and the level of patience you have already exhibited is stellar.
I do appreciate that they programmed it to be complementary in solving our problems.
So, but the thing I look at is open it, ask at least one question, explore at least one thing, have at least one conversation. All of those are streaks that you can set so that you get used to using AI and using that large language and all of the information that's out there for your benefit and for your opportunity to be even better.
Yep, I agree. I think that you're right. The whole point is just to learn to be using it. I think we all need to participate in helping to decide where this is going to go and how this is going to impact our society. And I think we all would agree that we would rather be a part of that solution than to stand by and let other people make those decisions.
Absolutely.
That we would
100%.
want to be using it and contributing and understanding both the capabilities and the potential and the pitfalls. And that as we recognize and understand those pitfalls, we will be able to find ways to solve those problems.
We will. Thanks for joining us today. This has been the Streaking Podcast. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jamie.
That's Jamie. We're so excited to be able to talk to you about this. And we hope that you'll be able to use some of the information that we've gathered and expand on it. Go out into AI and ask the questions. If you have any thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share with us, shoot us an email at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at mystreaksapp.com or
Jamie, Jami, at mystreaksapp.com.
Until we talk again, we hope that you have a marvelous, beautiful, fantastic day. And as always,
keep streaking.